should probably record too. There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Are we live now?
Yes, we are live. We are live.
Yay! 22 minutes later, you did it. Technology.
Yes, technology. It's great.
It's all good. Okay. Let's start over. We'll pretend we've been here.
Yeah, we've been here this entire time.
Yeah, well, we actually have been here this entire time. But why don't I just take 2 seconds and introduce myself? My name is Justin Nordell, and I am the current treasurer of CESI, which is the Cultural Exchange Society, Inc., which is the producer of the most beloved and largest convention in the state of Ohio, Ohayocon.
Fantastic. Hello, chat. Hi. Bear with me. Let's just pretend that the last 20 minutes did not happen. Let's just forgive and forget.
We're starting now. Life is good, and you've got a lot of really great and burning questions that you want to get to. So why don't you go ahead and start firing? And I'm happy to give as much information as I know, and anything I don't know, I'm excited to find out and make sure that we communicate it outwardly to everybody.
Awesome. I like that spirit. I love that spirit. Let's jump the gun real quick. Let's go with my very first question is, what exactly is the Cultural Exchange Society?
So after the pandemic, Ohayocon as a convention kind of looked at what was happening in the anime convention world and saw a number of different conventions that were ceasing operations, and that a number of different things were happening in different areas, and that there were some conventions that were, prospering and thriving as for-profit entities, some that were doing so as non-profit entities. And it was something that was an internal decision that was made before I got there. So I just joined the board in April of this year. But it was decided to take Ohayocon, which had been a for-profit entity since its inception, and move it to being a not-for-profit entity in order to make sure that it had the best footing in the anime and Japanese cultural community to exist, survive, and thrive for many more years to come. So Cultural Exchange Society, Inc. was founded before this year's con, and it was started in order to craft a 501c3 that Ohayocon would be the main program of, that would allow for the organization, CESI, to have different programs that operated year-round, not just that one weekend, so that we could better connect Columbus, Ohio, and beyond to Japanese culture and anime.
Okay, very good. That leads up to my next question is, there seems to be a strong push for Ohayocon to become non-profit. What's the intent behind that?
That's a really, really great question, and one that I am uniquely qualified to answer because I have been on the boards of a number of organizations that have applied for and gotten their 501c3 status. Everything from, for those of you that are in Columbus, Ohio, Stonewall Sports Columbus, which is an LGBTQIA two-spirit sports league that's in Columbus. I was a founding board member of the national organization that actually came to Columbus and started that. And we started down in DC, and they had originally been a for-profit entity, and they moved to being a non-profit. And the reason that they did that, the reason why Ohayocon and CESI really are looking at doing that to, again, survive and thrive, is because it creates so many more opportunities for different funding streams and to better value what we're doing. And then more than anything, to create a better opportunity to build community more than just at the convention itself. So when you are a 501c3 nonprofit, it opens you up to the ability to accept donations and to accept sponsors. And it allows for you to apply for grants. while we in the United States of America don't have a lot of really great national grant funding. There's a lot of wonderful state funding in Ohio, as well as foundations all over that are really, really eager to help to do a number of the things that we want to achieve, such as there are some wonderful foundations that would help to underwrite bringing musical artists over from Asia to Columbus, Ohio, to perform at Ohayocon or to perform a concert during the year that Ohayocon attendees and others would be able to come to or stream. There's all sorts of opportunities that we're going to be able to do to keep that Ohayocon feeling going all year long and not just at the convention. So that building the community will hopefully ensure that Ohayocon will be able to once again be here for another 20 years or more.
All right, so to put it in very layman's terms, it basically opens up more opportunities for Ohayocon, not just at the convention, but throughout the year.
Without question, and being able to do more things to connect with the community and to achieve its mission of spreading the absolute joy and love that is Japanese culture, anime, and so many more things throughout the region.
All right, cool, awesome. That seems to be a well-explained answer. Moving on, because some of these questions, I'm going to preface this, some of these questions stem from the fact that I personally do not know the answer, and when I try to seek out the answer, I get more questions than answers. One of them being is, what are the volunteer benefits for Ohayocon this year?
Sure. So I can absolutely confirm that Ohayocon volunteers would be able to receive all of the benefits that they know and love from years past, where we would be having hotel rooms that would be taken care of them, that we would be able to do vouchers for food, which was something that had been a long time wonderful suggestion that came from one of the volunteers that was executed this past year. It wasn't executed perfectly because I, for one, as a staff member this past year, didn't see any vouchers until Sunday. But I also know that there were other committees, such as, one of the other committees didn't get their vouchers, and so they took it upon themselves to buy pizza for their staff to take care of them. And we want to just make sure that everybody is taken care of, and that rollout happens a little bit more streamlined for the year to come. We will still have staff suite. We'll still have all sorts of snacks. We'll have lots of opportunities for food, shirts, badge reimbursements, signing perks, our wonderful Sunday closing party. And if you were there this past year's Sunday closing party, we had an amazing array of donations that our incredible volunteers were rewarded with at the end of the weekend, and hoping to only go up from there. So we're really genuinely excited to offer all of that, and we are keeping our ears and our hearts open to any other suggestions that volunteers have, so that we can help make their lives easier, because our volunteers are the backbone of Ohayocon. The convention truly would not exist without them.
Interesting. Is there, just out of curiosity, is there somewhere, like a resource where people can find like a full list of volunteer benefits that they can easily access, like say through the Ohayocon website?
There is a volunteering section of the Ohayocon website, and that takes you to a form where it does list some of those items. And I will just have to make sure that it is reviewed to make sure that it is completely up to date.
All right, cool. Moving on, a little bit spicier of a question. Given recent events, is there a possibility for Ohayocon to rethink its refund policy?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to address recent events first for those that may not know before we get into that? But that being said, hi, I'm the treasurer. So yes, without question, I am wanting to make sure that anyone that wants to come to Ohayocon feels that they're in the safe space that has been built over the last 2 decades. And if they don't feel as if that's a safe space for them anymore, we are unquestionably going to create a way for people to submit for either pushing it forward to another year, to receive back full or partial. And that's something that we're going to just look at processes and best practices in order to do. So yes, without question, we want to make sure that the attendees and the volunteers and the people that are a member of our community are, again, feeling that Ohayocon is that safe space. One of the things that I love most about Ohayocon is that it is one of the few conventions that I've attended to, either as a fan, as a staff person, as a guest, that really celebrates people's individuality and allows them to be unabashedly themselves. As an out queer man, I've been to conventions where I have been called an F slur in the hallway by somebody who's in full cosplay, and I've gone, thanks, person. Really appreciate that. So Ohayocon, it is something that I genuinely feel is, if the community that has been built is just far, far, far more just close and knit and ability to just love people from all different passions and walks of life. And I think it's some of that passion that we've definitely been seeing full force these last week.
So there is a chance for there to be refunds if necessary, but in a case-by-case basis.
Without question, we will be putting up an application, and it's something that, again, we are going to be putting up, and then we'll be executing those refunds closer to the convention. The reason being is, I will just give an example. I had a volunteer that sent me an email that completely chewed me out and condemned me for union busting and for being someone that was going against the Ohayocon union and so on and so forth. And then when the Ohayocon and CESI board of directors put out their statement over the past week, they then wrote me an apology and said that they're very much looking forward to coming this year. If I had said, here you go, here's your money back, and then they said, oh no, I have to register again, and registration price went up, so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that anyone that comes wants to be there. We're not going to force anybody to come to the event, force anyone to work the event, force anyone to do anything that they don't want to do. So yes, we will be working to create that opportunity for people to submit. As treasurer, I'll be the one that will be personally reviewing all that and making sure to take care of people. But that being said, as I think this situation continues to evolve and more information becomes accessible and available, hopefully people will be able to communicate what their needs and wants are more clearly. And so we'll be able to move forward together as a community.
All right, so long story short, possibly case-by-case basis, closer to the con, applications for refunds will open up given on a case-by-case basis.
You got it.
Cool. Awesome. Let's move on. Given the time, the fact that we just murdered like 20 minutes of our interview time, I'm going to just get into some of the harder hitting questions. Starting with, okay, yeah, let's do this one. In CESI's response to Coven's parlay, you say that the role of con chair has been dissolved and in place as con director. This is the same for several other former staff titles, despite the roles themselves being identical to the old ones. What was the reasoning behind this decision?
So as part of the transition from being a for-profit entity, which utilized a volunteer workforce that, I'm just going to say it, wasn't appropriately compensated for their time, talent, and treasure, becoming a nonprofit, one of the advantages is that it allows us to properly compensate and to properly employ people for what it is that we are achieving as CESI and as Ohayocon. So as such, the goal of CESI is, again, to have year-round opportunities to build community, to connect with community, and to do things in and around the Ohio region. As such, we need an executive director that would be in charge of doing that. Then for the convention, we know very clearly that we need somebody or a group of somebodies that are going to be running the event and steering the ship. And so to that end, I'm going to go ahead and have a convention director. In addition, we have an incredible array of volunteers who have a number of needs and wants that we want to make sure are taken care of. So having a staffed volunteer coordinator that is a more seasonal position is key. And then an audience experience manager that would very specifically be looking at connecting with our audience and being able to clearly communicate, which is, again, something that I think we've all seen is very necessary for moving forward. So those are the roles that we identified when we were doing the restructuring of the org chart back in May.
Aha. It just... Okay. All right. Let's just move on then. Let me pick an even harder hitting question here.
You can go in order and I'll give you all the good answers. So whatever you want to do, I am here for you, Zach.
All right.
And I'm here for the community.
Okay. Well, let's do this question then. When you Google the term Sakura logo into Google search, the first image you see is the Sakura logo used as the explanation for the denial of the proposed Ohayocon Sakura logo. Did you actually reach out to the Sakura of America about the logo, or was the decision the result of a quick Google search?
So, just so you know, I'm going to actually answer one of your other questions while going into this question, because I think for logos, you have to step kind of back to the whole Red Cross of it all and some of that Geneva Convention comments that are swirling around. As we all know, Ohayocon had our wonderful cross logo that we had for a number of years, and by a number of years, I mean well over a decade, that never had any issues whatsoever. The color scheme was always more towards a deeper, darker red, a scarlet, and it never had gotten kind of towards that Red Cross Fire Engine cherry red until recently. And as such, a well-meaning volunteer sent it to the Red Cross and said, hey, just want to make sure that this is amenable and that we're okay to use this. And the Red Cross came back and said, absolutely not. This is going against our registered trademark. And so there was a number of back and forth. And the initial time that they reached out to us, we had, of course, then shown them the Nurse Lindsay version with the darker red, which they were comfortable and confident with. But the lighter red one continued to be used in a number of spaces and places. So we did, in fact, receive a cease and desist from the Red Cross. So as such, I'm happy to say that in April of this year, we reached a settlement with them that no monetary anything was exchanged, but they had no objections to us using the cross in the color blue or any ombre effects or anything to that end, as long as we weren't predominantly using red.
But that led to another problem with Blue Cross Blue Shield, did it not?
No, it did not lead to another cross with Blue Cross Blue Shield. That is a rumor. In fact, did send it to Blue Cross Blue Shield employees to say, hey, is this something that I should be concerned about when I joined the Ohayocon board in April, right after all of this, and got the word back from Blue Cross Blue Shield employees that that was, in fact, something that we could be using moving forward. But regardless, we then checked with both of them about the ombre that you can currently see on ohayocon.org. And we began using that as kind of like a nice kind of safety in-betweener. Plus, we were moving towards a cyberpunk theme for this year, is what the art team at Studio Capsule had decided on. And so we were working towards that. There was a wonderful volunteer that wanted to come up with their own logo, and they created that Sakura Blossom logo. And I think they even posted a really cool video that showed exactly how they made it by kind of creating one petal and replicating them. And I, for one, thought that was super cool. And I really liked and appreciated it, except the second that the logo came out, it was very, very much reminiscent of something. And as we went into looking at it, we did see that Sakura of America and Sakura Color Products Corp. And their offshoot Royal Talons had a registered trademark for the Sakura Blossom logo. So we reached out to them, the exact same thing that a different volunteer had done about the Red Cross, and just said, hey, we're this wonderful convention that exists in Ohayocon. We will be reaching out for you about sponsoring us and donating some wonderful color products at some point. But for now, we wanted to know if this version of a logo was too close to your registered trademark, because if so, we are happy to go in a different direction. And they said, yes, it is a little close and we would prefer if you did something else. As such, it was communicated to volunteers and to previous con-chair that that wasn't a logo that we were able to use, except the wonderful volunteers had kind of talked among senior leadership team and they voted to use it. The problem is that them voting to go ahead and move forward with something that could have put us in a position where we could get a second cease and desist during one calendar year just was not gonna really be a good thing. So we couldn't
two
move
things.
forward with it.
Two things with that. Number one, you guys did have 2 cease and desist from what I've been told. You had 2 cease and desist from Red Cross.
From two separate companies.
That's
my
number
good
one.
sir.
Number two,
and also just the cease and desist in the calendar year. I said the only one cease and desist so far this year. If we had gone with the Sakura Blossom logo, that could have been a second this calendar year.
So when, because now I'm confused. When did you contact the Sakura company? Because the way you describe it is you contact them before they put a vote, before the senior leadership voted on it.
I was reached out to them as soon as I will let you know that reached out to them as soon as it popped up on social media, because so it was September 1st, which was the first time that I had seen it.
September 1st.
Yep.
And this is the first I'm hearing this. And no one else has mentioned that they reached out to Sakura.
I'm just letting you know what happened because we communicated very clearly that we could not move forward with that logo and that we had other designs from Studio Capsule. Okay. Again, I think what's really been fun is that a lot of our community have been designing their own, both regular logos and joke logos in the Discord, and certainly taking a lot of it to heart. But for now, the Ohayocon.org logo, which has the cross with the ombre, is continuing. And again, a lot of the art for this year, you should look for a cyberpunk theme.
So that raises my next question is, I hate to be that guy, is there evidence backing this up? Have you relayed this conversation to the senior leadership as an explanation as to why? Because from what I've been told, they didn't really get a proper explanation. All they got was, oh, we don't like the Sakura logo because we don't like the Sakura logo.
It was never a we don't like the Sakura logo because we don't like the Sakura logo. It was a, hey, we can't use this logo. Please know that we understand that you talked among yourselves. But again, it's sort of like when you get permission, when you ask permission from mom and mom says no, and then you go to dad. Except this was, you asked permission from mom said no, asked permission to dad said no. So then you went and talked to all of your siblings and your siblings said, yeah, do it. And that seems to be what happened in this regard. So
do you have evidence suggesting you contacted Sakura of America? I'm not saying you're lying. I just, given the fluidity of everything for the last couple weeks, it's really nice to have hard evidence.
Hard evidence is great. Yes, I'm more than happy to talk about anything and any interactions that we've had via message with Sakura Products of America and Royal Talons.
Okay, because I think because of that, I might personally contact them myself after this. So anyway,
you're more than welcome to do so. That being said, I'm also more than happy to, I don't know, put screenshots of anything. That being said, it is unquestionably within their right having the registered trademark of the Sakura blossom that looks immensely similar to ours. And as such, I am genuinely going to say, as our treasurer, who has to have the highest fiduciary responsibility for our organization and for Ohayocon, to say that we can't put ourselves in another situation. I want to thank the volunteer that reached out to the Red Cross because it was something that we had just coasted on for so long, not realizing that we were putting ourselves again at a liability or at a risk. And again, receiving the cease and desist because of the colors still beginning to use. I just can't allow for that scenario to happen a second time.
All right.
From a second company. And the Independence Blue Cross Blue Shield, that's a complete rumor, just to clarify.
Okay. In response to chat, don't you worry. We'll get back to this, but I have more important questions, because if you think that's the most crazy question, I got a lot. Trust me, there's more. There's more. Like, for instance, there have been reports that certain members of the board of directors are against the idea of having a game room at Ohayocon. Is there any truth to these reports, and if so, what is the reasoning behind these opinions?
I can say that I, again, have only been on the board since April, but that has never, ever been anything that we've discussed. There's been no truth in that whatsoever. We host a yearly game room, and we're going to have one in 2024, including computer gaming, console gaming, arcade, tabletop, dedicated space for independent developers. Like, we are going to have the same gaming space as we always have, and frankly, I hope we can do better, and I hope we can bring in more funding to help support our gaming team, because they do a really great job to provide lots of opportunities for our attendees in our community.
So it's funny because, hold on, let me find it real quick.
I mean, if there was a discussion, it happened prior to my joining the board. But that being said, everyone that I have spoken to since joining the board, we've always been moving forward with gaming. So I don't even know where that one came from.
So it came from it because I had a conversation with Melissa when this whole shit show started. This is how this whole idea of me having an interview starts, because I messaged Melissa because I wanted to have a conversation with Melissa. And during our conversation, she started, there's no other way to describe it, she started rambling about the game room and how much she didn't care for the fact that the game room had equal amount of space as the panel rooms. Unprompted, mind you.
So I will just say that in that regard, it was more likely just in response to the fact that we've been having a lot of discussions on layout and how we're going to best utilize the space in the year to come, and looking at what we're renting and how we're renting it, what we're getting from the convention center and what we're getting from the hotel, and also just the footprint. When we were applying for our 501c3, you kind of have to show what you're doing that's showing Japanese culture and Japanese arts. And of course, a lot of that comes from the panels. So as such, we were looking at a lot of that in that space and how we were utilizing that. But that being said, I apologize if you read in between the lines. There was nothing to read there. We're having gaming, and you just won't see me there unless everybody wants to kick my butt, because I am not particularly great.
Well, let's for the next question, let's piggyback off the game room question. There have been reports that department heads were paying out of pocket in order to achieve basic necessities for the departments, i.e. the game room. Were you aware of the situation, and if so, is this something that the convention approves of or condemns?
So again, as treasurer, if any volunteer whatsoever has to pay out of pocket for anything, please submit for reimbursement, and you will be reimbursed. If it's something that we're never told about, then we don't know to reimburse you. That being said, the only thing in regards to gaming from last year that I heard about in a meeting, again, I'm new as of April, was again going back to purchasing pizza from Late Night Slice versus the vouchers. But the voucher system last year wasn't the best organized out the gate. We recognize that, and so want to make sure that we give everybody what they need to have a happy and healthy, successful convention in the year to come. But that being said, if there's any volunteer, any department head that's listening now, we got you. We don't want you spending a dime out of pocket if possible. So let us know what you need in advance. But we also recognize things are going to come up as the weekend goes on. And if you have to run out yourself or send somebody to go get something or have something overnighted from Amazon, please submit it for reimbursement so that we can take care of you.
So with that said, because there has been numbers that I've been told, and one of those numbers being a massive $10,000 paid out of pocket, with that amount of money, is that still within the realm of reimbursement?
Without question, if they were using it for Ohayocon purposes. But that being said, I genuinely haven't heard anything about a $10,000. So, Zach, if you know something I don't know, you can come out and say it, or please just direct that person to email me at justin.nordell@ohayocon.org. I'm the newest treasurer. I'm brand new as of April, and I've been going through and I've been making sure that everything is being clearly booked, and also that we're looking at what we're doing for all of our departments throughout the convention, so that we can make sure we have the best budget possible to ensure that we're taking care of everyone.
All right. Well, you heard that, folks. Reimbursement for any old department heads. If you have put your own cash into Ohayocon, you are now at service of reimbursement. Thank you, Justin.
If it was for Ohayocon purposes and you used it for the convention, absolutely. Justin.nordell@ohayocon.org. Email me. We'll look at receipts together and we'll make sure that you're taken care of. I genuinely hate to think that somebody could be out of pocket $10, let alone $10,000. So genuinely, if there is that human that is out there, send me an email and we'll take a look at last year and we'll make sure, or the year before, or 2018 or whatever it was, and we'll make sure that we're looking to take care of you.
Awesome. Fantastic. Let's see here. Piggyback off the fact that I mentioned Melissa Phelps in our conversation. Ceci mentioned in its reply to Coven's Parlay that Melissa Phelps' comments during these last few days have, quote, did not help to quell misinformation, end quote. If read correctly, is this insinuating that Melissa was spreading misinformation herself?
I'm gonna be very honest. Melissa is somebody that loves Ohayocon. It's her third child. She has helped to nurture it and help it grow. She hasn't always been the best parent, but she has certainly been a parent to this event. It is something that she is incredibly passionate for. And it's something that so many of us are incredibly passionate for, or we wouldn't be listening to this conversation or having this conversation right now. That being said, through that passion, a lot of people over the last week overstepped, overspoke, and as you said earlier, when you were talking to Melissa, she rambled. You're not the only person that Melissa rambled to, and it was just simply because Melissa was incredibly passionate about the event and making sure that everyone knew that we are all on the same page, we are all on the same team, and we are all trying to move forward together to achieve the same goal. So that being said, did Melissa spread misinformation over the last week? I don't think she spread misinformation, but did she misspeak at least once that I know about? Absolutely. But that being said, it was coming from a place of just real frustration. I have seen Melissa be cyberbullied by our community pretty incessantly, by people that don't know who this woman is. They just know of her as this supreme overlord, that she is the end boss of the video game, that she is the big bad, that she is the knives to the Vash the Stampede of us all. Like, we have to acknowledge that Melissa isn't this absolute supervillain. She is just somebody that is trying to be the best parent possible. And what I appreciate about Melissa in the last couple of months that I've gotten to really work with her is that, like any parent, if you love something, you let it go, and you need to make sure that it can walk and stand on its own 2 feet. And so a lot of the talks that we've had on the board of directors have been about Melissa and Melissa's role, and Melissa transitioning out from being in charge of Ohayocon and what that could and should look like. In working with a number of different nonprofits, again, I'll go back to Stonewall Sports, which I'm only going to use because we have a branch in Columbus, Ohio. We had a founder that started everything, and when we became a nonprofit, we discerned that we were going to have him run everything for a time of kind of 1-2 years, so that we could have that baton pass, so that we could make sure that everything was the way that it needed to be, but that we gave some oversight to them so that they weren't just running things and making decisions by themselves, which they had been able to do previously. So having that really positive experience,
Time out.
let me just finish this sentence real quick. We had the decision to transition Melissa from being on the board of directors, where she didn't have any oversight, to being an employee of the executive director of hopefully for a time of 1 to 2 years. And again, the executive director is not running Ohayocon, they're running the year-round organization, SESI, and having that as ability to build towards the future before she passes that baton. So again, Melissa is someone that's really looking now big picture, looking at what she can be doing year round, what she can be doing for this community, and she's incredibly passionate about it. And I admire and appreciate that about her. But did she misspeak over the last week? Absolutely, at least once that I know of.
Important update, ladies and gents. My cat just landed on my lap. That's very important information you guys need to know. Going back. Hold on. Going back to what you previously said, yeah, because this is actually the next question, is Melissa Phelps is step down from the board of directors for SESI, correct?
Correct. We had Melissa step down and she stepped into the executive director role. This is not, and hold on, I want to be very clear. This is not the con chair. This is not the conference director. This is not running Ohayocon. This is the executive director of SESI. So is there going to be interaction with Ohayocon and Ohayocon senior leadership and Ohayocon staff? Unquestionably, because Ohayocon is the largest program of SESI. But Melissa's job and job description as executive director is going to be building beyond Ohayocon, looking at what we can do year round. Again, looking at throwing concerts that's going to be at a different time of year that we're going to be sponsoring and inviting our attendees to. Looking at doing meetings and doing community events. There's all sorts of things that we're going to be working toward.
So this isn't even a question in my list. This is just a question because of this. Out of the three, which level is Melissa Phelps now in from her previous position? Is she got less power than she had previously, the same amount of power, or does she have more power? Because the way you describe it, it sounds like she just got a lot more power than her previous position.
Let's call a spade a spade. Melissa was the owner of Ohayocon. She didn't have to make this a nonprofit. She didn't have to do anything. She could have just kept on keeping on and had Ohayocon be what it was and making the amounts of money that it was making, and she could have done with that money whatever she saw fit as the owner. Invest it back in the con or invested it into a property in Malibu. Just kidding, that's not Melissa. But that being said, Melissa has less power just by creating this as a nonprofit. And then when Melissa joined the board, she of course had oversight over everything and having that kind of ultimate control and power as a board member, except it was broken down between her and other people. That being said, now that Melissa is an employee, the board of directors oversees Melissa and she reports to them. And Melissa has very clear goals and a very clear job description. And if she doesn't adhere to or achieve those goals, it's our job as a board to help her to do so, or for us to work for finding who the next great person is going to be. Again, this is all about passing the baton. Melissa has done a really, really great job for a long time. She hasn't been a perfect mother for this convention, but she has done incredible work and has been incredibly passionate about what she did. So if you are asking me, Melissa, greater than, less than, or equal, it's a less than, very clearly. And in fact, it was a self-induced less than, because this has been the goal, is to be able to step back. So again, everyone that's making her sound like, this power-hungry witch for October purposes, I haven't met that version of Melissa yet, personally.
So now that raises a question: who's on the board now?
So
if you're allowed to reveal that information to the public, that is.
I'm more than happy to reveal that to the public. So the board of directors currently is Emily DeJesus, who is president. We have Katie Aubrey Phelps, who is not in any executive role. Myself as treasurer, And then there are one additional person who is just in the process of reviewing things to join, and we will announce that when the time comes. It's a professional person that brings something professional to the board that's needed. And then the fifth position, which was Melissa's position, is something that we are going to please ask our volunteers, whomever remains and whomever wants to join us, to vote from among themselves to join the board, to again have that oversight, because Ohayocon is just one program of CESI, but it's our most important. It's why we're all here, and so we want to make sure that the volunteers in our community are represented. We're also going to be being much more much more proactive about selecting and soliciting for board members, because we're doing, and again, I just joined in April, but we're looking for people that have very particular skills moving forward, so that we can make sure that we have things that are taken care of. Again, myself being treasurer, as somebody that has been treasurer of other nonprofits in LGBT and music and so on and so forth, I have a familiarity with our banking systems, with QuickBooks Online, and other things that we need to be a successful nonprofit organization, and just an organization in general. So that's why I am here in this role, in this capacity. But again, at some point, I'm going to need to leave, and I really want to be able to pass the baton to somebody who has a finance background. And so if that's you and you're a member of this community, let's start talking, because I want to do succession planning, so that I know that when I step down and off, that I can hand that baton clearly to somebody else.
Okay, I guess all that leads into my next question, because you mentioned a Phelps on the board. If there is a term to describe CESI's issues from an outsider's point of view, i.e. my point of view, if I can distill it down to a single word, it would be nepotism.
Nepotism, nepo baby, nepo. Okay, so here's the deal. I was introduced to Katie as Melissa's daughter. And I was genuinely kind of like, okay, I'm going to be working with Melissa's daughter. I didn't give her the chance to be Katie Phelps. I just met her as Melissa's daughter. And when I began to work with Katie, Katie was somebody that dedicated so much of her time and talent. And I realized it's because this is something that's been such a huge part of her life for so long. Yes, Katie is Melissa's daughter. But no, Melissa will not be reporting directly to Katie. And that being said, Katie is in a board position that she is going to be the first person to rotate off. So as such, there will come a time in the not too distant future, as in by the time you and I are having our next talk next year at this time, where there will be no Phelps on the Ohayocon board. And that time is going to come. And it's not because Katie is a Phelps and Katie isn't, able to be on that board. It's because Katie doesn't want to be on this board for the rest of her days and rest of eternity. She has lots of other incredible things that she does, and this is a huge time commitment. So that being said, is there an issue with nepotism within Ohayocon? I don't think it is an issue, but then again, I'm newer, and I would love to hear what some other people's thoughts are on the subject matter. But again, that being said, I am telling you all, if the biggest issue that you have is that the Phelps family is involved in this organization, I need to tell you that the Phelps family has done more in the last, 4 to 6 months that I've been on the board than I or so many others have done in their entire history of working with Ohayocon. They work tirelessly and passionately, and they do so for the community, and because it is something that has been a part of their lives and that they love. So you can scream nepotism all day long, but at the end of the day, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for you people that don't like having all of these Phelpses in positions of power. But at the same day, I gotta give them some props. They're working really, really hard, and they're working really hard while so many people in this community are frankly cyberbullying them, are saying absolutely terrible things, some of which aren't grounded in any sort of reality, and some of which are just plain cruel.
So 2 things. Number 1, chat is eating you alive right now from that.
Hooray!
Number 2, chat would like me... take this with a grain of salt. I'm taking it with a grain of salt, but apparently, Katie Phelps goes by they them pronouns.
My sincere apologies. As again a member of the LGBTQIA two-spirit community, I should have been more forthright with that. So my apologies. I have never had to speak in an interview and discuss them, so it was my first, and it will be my only time I make that mistake. So my apologies.
All right. So let's keep digging this hole together. There have been conflicting reports regarding Aaron, former social media department head.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard one thing, that they are fired. I've heard another thing, they're not fired, just in a different position. They're still on the hook. They fired. What is the status officially? Final word. What is the status of their employment?
I'll be quite honest. There is not a single volunteer. Not a single volunteer. Let me repeat it. Not a single volunteer who has been fired. Cody Markham has been relieved of his particular role, and we want to work with Cody to find a role that he loves or help him transition to the conference or convention director role. But Aaron never received anything from a single member of the board in the way that Cody received something from the board saying that she was let go. Do we need to have a conversation with Aaron because she locked us out of all of our social media and sent out a press release saying that we were union busting when a union does not and cannot exist because of national labor laws and Ohio labor laws that say that you can't unionize when you're volunteers, but we would absolutely appreciate collective bargaining anyway, so it created a bit of a riot. Yeah, we need to talk about that.
So
but
officially,
nobody
Aaron's still employed. I'm using employed in a loose sense, but he's still a part of Ohayocon.
Every single volunteer who volunteered at the 2023 Ohayocon and was moving forward to 2024 is still a volunteer with us. One person was relieved from their role because of an organizational restructuring, and also just frankly because of some issues that we were having that the job description that they had previously had wasn't adhered to. But I'm not going to go into specific HR out of just love and respect for Cody. Cody was one of the first people that I met when I first came to Ohayocon. He's somebody that I've been a colleague with for years, somebody that I love and respect, and I have, been standing next to at 4 a.m. when he's had to take care of an issue and has done so with aplomb. I think Cody is a phenomenal human being and somebody that I consider a friend. And again, I want to make sure that I'm working with Cody in the year to come. Just again, the con-chair role is going away because we as a nonprofit, when submitting a 501c3 application, have to have an org structure that results in paid employees because we need to value the work that is done.
All right. So
Aaron, you can hear me and you hear this. You were never fired, and I'm looking forward to talking to you at some point.
Now that goes back, because now you just said that Cody wasn't fired, he was just relieved of his position. With that said, despite being positionless, does that mean he's still technically part of Ohayocon staff?
Everyone who was volunteered last year is still a volunteer. And again, would love to find a role for Cody that Cody loves. And again, have encouraged very publicly Cody to apply for the convention director role so that we can value him. That being said, there's certainly just a number of things that have been running around out there. And, Cody received an email that he screenshot and that went out to a number of people. If Erin has that exact same email, because the language would have been the same, she's more than welcome to screenshot and show it to people as well. But that email doesn't exist.
Okay. Well, you hear that, folks? Cody's technically not fired? Question mark?
Cody is not con-chair because the con-chair role doesn't exist anymore. But Cody is not fired from Ohayocon. Cody, however, needs to find a new role. And Cody, if you hear me, you got my cell phone. Feel free to text me and let's work something out to figure out what's the best role for you moving forward. Because I can't imagine Ohayocon with you because I've never had an Ohayocon without you and it would suck.
Well, Cody, I got good news. Despite what the Twitter and other official posts says, you are not technically fired.
He is no longer con-chair, but he is still a volunteer and part of the Ohayocon family.
Oh boy. Can I be blunt? Can I voice an opinion as an interviewer?
Go,
Can I
go for it.
take
You've
off
been
my
pretty blunt the
professional
entire
mask?
time.
Shit's fucked.
I
Shit
don't know
is
what that
fucked.
means. But this is what happens when, and I'll be very honest, we don't have the right systems in place so that we can address things publicly earlier, because we had a press release that went out from someone and someone's that contained a lot of information that did not have as much of a grounding in reality as they thought it did. And then we weren't able to have these open and honest conversations with them because people be angry and they don't want to talk to you when you're angry. So I'm not angry at anyone. I just hate that there's all of this ill will and malice that's going towards people on both sides of things. I genuinely love this convention. I give it my time because out of every convention that I've ever been to as a guest, as a staff member, as a paid attendee, Ohayocon holds the place in my heart. And that is why I am talking to you after 10 p.m. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on a weeknight, while my husband is very angry that I am not sitting watching Netflix with him in another room. So let's get back to questions.
Yes. Also, to the chat, because I know some of you are saying, please let me in. Number one, after the interview questions. Number two, if you do have questions, join the Discord. I just posted in the chat. Anyway, let's continue. Okay. Officially, well, piggyback off of this. Even though we just said technically he's not fired, I'm just going to read this question verbatim. Officially, it seems that only Cody has been fired from his position with Ohayocon, with the rest of the staff and volunteers still, for lack of a better term, employed. With the recent announcement of a boycott, what would happen to the staff members who assist with the boycott?
If there are any staff members that choose to boycott Ohayocon 2024, we would love to see them again in Ohayocon 2025 when the dust has settled. But Ohayocon 2024 is moving forward. And contrary to the popular belief, we have had a large number of volunteers that have reached out to us to say, hey, we're still planning on coming. Is the convention still happening? Are we still going to have these departments? Who am I going to so on and so forth? So again, this is the reason why we're not handing out refunds immediately, because a lot of people would get their refunds and then they may regret it later. Because I'll be quite honest, and I think everyone can relate, Ohayocon in 2020 was one of the last great conventions, one of the last great things that we got to do before the pandemic, before the shutdown. So then in 2021, when we had the digital Discord Ohayocon, which was a lot of fun, but it felt like something was missing from my life and a lot of our lives. And as such, we want to make sure that Ohayocon is there and is around, because while the volunteers and certain members of staff and certain members of the paying public are all very, very invested and very passionate about this ongoing war and battle, there's a lot of people that don't know anything about it, that don't want to know anything about it, and just want to have the convention that they know and love because it's a safe space for them, because it is a cure for the winter blues. And so as such, we're going to move forward with the convention, and I hope we can find a way to move forward with every single volunteer that wants to come back, coming back in a capacity that plays to their strengths.
So, well, now that raises the question, if these staff members do participate in the boycott, like full on picket fence line and everything, what's the plan to fill in those gaps, fill in those roles that have been left vacant? Do you have a backup plan?
We certainly have talked about a couple of different options if it were to come to that. But again, my goal, just not only as treasurer of this organization, but as a human being that knows that every single person that is ready to get up there on the picket line would much rather be inside working together to achieve the same goal of putting on an amazing convention and experience for everyone. I want to just make sure that we don't get there. While there are a number of things that people have said are, absolutely drop dead, must happen, I'm not going to be burning anyone with the last name Phelps on a stake. I'm sorry, it's just, murder. But that being said, if there are things that we can do and we can work on, and there's been a number of options that have been presented to us, we're certainly going to work with them to find a common ground and to move forward, because that's what we need to do. Because again, it's not about us. I'm not helping Ohayocon for me. Like, yeah, I love Ohayocon, but I have met so many incredible people that this is their one outlet a year where they're able to be unabashedly themselves. And to know that this could go away, I just don't want to let that happen. And I know that all of those people who are willing to fight for this convention, who are that passionate and want to pick up pickets and to be out front protesting this convention, I want to know what we can do to all come to the table together. So hopefully we'll have some really great meetings in the coming future so that we can get to a place where we don't have to execute any plan B, C's, D's, or E's. And instead we move forward with plan A, which is an amazing staff that we know and love.
So the plan is hoping to rectify the situation before Ohayocon.
Without question. I don't know anyone that wouldn't want to rectify this situation. We all want to be there. We all want to make sure that it is the best version of the convention that it can be and that it succeeds and it's around for years to come. I mean, there is nothing that brings me greater joy than seeing somebody with a baby that is cosplaying in a stroller. And I want Ohayocon to be around for them to push their baby in a cosplay in a stroller in decades to come. You got to start them while they're young. All right, so I'm just going to say I only have about 11 minutes left. So if there are any burning questions, please do get them out now.
Well, shit. I've pretty much covered the big ones I wanted to hit for the most part. I guess this is now an excellent opportunity to open it up to community questions. So, if you guys have any questions, you get one question, okay? You get one question. When I drag you into the channel, state your name, and then your question. Oh, wait, hold on. Please ask why Ceci has not contacted any of the volunteers, such as Cody.
Please ask why Ceci hasn't contacted any volunteers, such as Cody. Ceci put out a statement to every single volunteer that was registered in 2023. And let them know what was going on and said that you're more than welcome to reach out to us. We've heard from, well, I can say well over a dozen volunteers. And if anybody hasn't received that, check your spam filter. But genuinely, we're hoping that people will be open and communicate to us. I mean, Cody has my cell phone number. He has my email. So Cody, reach out to me. You know that I'm one of the more level-headed people that you deal with.
Okay, cool. Given this time restraint, I'm going to politely ask, try to keep the responses to like 2 sentences max. I do have one last question. One last question. Fan art.
I know the really good one.
Fan art is considered by many con goers a staple of an artist alley. For many years, Ohayocon has been fairly strict. Okay, not fairly, but pretty strict with its fan art policies. Is there a possibility of that being reviewed and reconsidered?
Yes, there is. It has been a militant policy, and I actually got the background on that, and that's because we had an attendee that was we had somebody that was associated with a very large international company that came and saw particular fan art. They took photos of it and they got, sent it to corporate, and they said, what the heck? And so they got particularly PO'd with us when it's something that I am bemused by, because you go to any con and there's just oodles and oodles and oodles of fan art. So there have already been discussions about allowing a certain percentage of fan art at any table. We're going to be able to work with it and, in fact, work with that company to see what people are comfortable with, because I think that's where people express themselves wonderfully, but we want to make sure that people's original art is still celebrated.
All right, cool, awesome. I'm dragging this person into the chat. I hope you're ready, because they won't shut up in the chat. Apologies. Hi, welcome to the chat. Please state your not your given name, but like the name you want to go by.
Hi, I am Stud. You can just call me Stud or Alex.
Hi, Stud.
Hey, Stud, how's it going?
I'm doing good. A little bit confused and a little bit frustrated. I just have a couple of questions to ask.
Sure.
Please,
Hit
shoot.
me, and I will answer what I can.
Don't actually hit him. I'm not a witness to this.
So what I'm hearing from one of the members in the chat is that Melissa's behavior has been reported within staff. Is that correct?
That Melissa's behavior has been reported within staff?
Yes. Has Melissa's behavior been reported at all to anybody within the staff?
So are we talking about currently or in the history of the convention?
Currently in history.
Okay, in history, have there been people that have put forth complaints about Melissa? Absolutely. And that's something that I, as a newer board member, haven't been privy to a lot of them. And that's something that I've been getting that information as all of this happened, because, again, I didn't understand the vitriol. That being said, when it comes to current complaints about Melissa, again, all I've seen is a lot of cyberbullying. Nothing has come to me directly.
So with her current behavior and the way that she behaved towards the employees, don't you think that she should, be gone by now because of her mistreatment in the past and current?
So, again, with what I have seen and what I have witnessed and what I have read, I can only go off of that information. So I invite anyone that has anything that I do not know about Melissa Phelps or anyone with Ohayocon, because I did have somebody that reached out to me to let me know that another staff person was problematic in different ways, and we will deal with that and make sure that it's taken care of. But again, Melissa is the mother of this convention. She is the one that has helped it to move forward. So moving it into its new role as a nonprofit, having her to help guide it at the beginning and then pass that baton is something that is crucial so that we don't lose any of that history. So I am not saying and forgiving anything that Melissa has done, but there is nothing that has been presented to me as a board member as a quote unquote fireable or removable offense. So if anybody has anything, please send it to me. But that being said, Melissa is in a role and a capacity right now where she is going to have less power, like some people from Coven and from different organizations are really pushing for. And it's something that she will have oversight so that when Melissa does something before, she owned it. So she could just do it and quote unquote get away with it.
Justin,
well, now
2 sentences.
Oh my gosh, it was a run-on. There was lots of commas. I'm sorry. Go.
Okay. Also, cool, awesome. Where can people send you these reports, Justin? What is like the number one place?
Justin.Nordell, N as in noise, O-R, D as in dog, E-L-L, at ohayocon.org.
You heard that, folks. If you have any information about Melissa's past and current misgivings, as well as anything else that may help Ohayocon reach the right direction it should go to, please forward that to that email. Thank you, Arielina. Thank you very much. Hold on. Lots of chat. My question is to Justin is why in a serious manner were you trying to make lighthearted and feel like you aren't being serious to the matter?
I don't feel as if I have been lighthearted this time, but if people feel that way, I apologize. I take everything that we are doing as an organization incredibly seriously. None of it has been glib. I have just been trying to celebrate some of the great work that has been done so far by our volunteers, staff, board, etc.
Awesome, thank you. And one more question. Finn Arrows asked him why they locked staff out of their emails if they were just dissolved in 2 positions. Oh, wait, hold on.
Ooh, yeah. Emailgate. Yes. So the email addresses at Ohayocon is something that has been interesting for me as someone who's new, because there are about 3, like we have Google G Suite. There are just hundreds and hundreds of emails, and a lot of them are redundant for no reason. And so as such, even there was somebody who was on the board before me who resigned and who I came on and took over their spot. Their email was still active. So it was something that since May, it was put as an order to go through and clean up some of the emails. And
wait, so the emails are gone?
No. Emails aren't gone. It was just something that when they were going through, again, trying to be helpful, they were going through and clearing some things up. Some things got hit that shouldn't have been hit, and the timing is really bad and suspect, and I don't know because I didn't do it, but at the same time, I'm really, really sorry for anyone that got confused. I've really only genuinely had one person that reached out to me, though.
Okay. Awesome.
So
cool.
I only know of one gentleman who has been locked out of his email.
Cool. Awesome. 2 more questions. I swear. 2 more questions. One from Aiko, one from Stud. Aiko asks, if no one was fired, then why is there proof of her saying she fired Cody and Aaron? And they just posted a screenshot from the official Ohayocon Twitter that they have parted ways with the former card chair and social media head, which are Cody and Aaron.
So, again, from the people being in those roles. But that being said, when it comes to Aaron, this was, again, this is an evolving issue. And again, Aaron, if you're out there, I would like to have a conversation with you. Aaron locked us out. Aaron knew that we couldn't use that logo and did it anyway. Aaron made a lot of decisions that were incredibly passionate because Aaron loves Ohayocon. And as such, at that time, somebody who was at our Twitter was very passionate in saying that that person couldn't move forward with Ohayocon. Of course, the dust has settled and everything's silly, and I'm 99.1,000% sure that was deleted because it just wasn't true. So when it comes to misinformation, it's been coming out of both sides. And I want to work with this community to make sure that we are all moving forward together with the correct information. So I apologize for anyone that saw that and got the wrong idea or impression. It was deleted for a reason. Genuinely apologize. But again, Cody, only person who received a message from the board of directors being released from their current role, but not from being a volunteer.
Okay, Stud, you have the grace of having the final question.
So I'm looking at Marcin Lee. He's the former senior director of programming at Ohayocon. He said that, they said, I don't know your pronouns, Marcin Lee, so I'm just gonna use they, them, gender neutral. They said, if I know anything about working Ohio and Melissa/Emily's behavior, I can personally attest that this is all nonsense. My man is drowning. So you said that her behavior has been reported in the past and currently, and you already said that you weren't here.
We received an entire manifesto from a group calling themselves Coven, perfect for Halloween, but of people that had a number of things that they
let him
wanted
finish.
changed.
Let him finish the question.
So my understanding is that you know that her behavior has been reported in the past and currently. Before this, you were here, and while you're here, and you know of the situation as her behavior for currently. So regarding all of that, my opinion is that she needs to go because the way that she's treating employees is not okay. It's not fair. And everybody in chat is not with it either. I personally am not with it because my friend Arilina, the one that sent me this Twitch stream, I was about to buy my ticket for Ohayocon. I'm a college student. I'm glad I didn't buy my tickets because I'm not with the fact that somebody on the Ohayocon staff team is mistreating the employees, especially employees and staff that is running the con and making things happen for the con. And honestly, she needs to go. Nobody deserves to be on the staff team if they're going to treat their employees like that, especially in the past, and it has not been fixed. Either she needs to get her behavior in check, then she needs to go. If she can't get it in check, then she needs to go. If she can't get her behavior in check, then possibly, but if not, she needs to go because it looks like it hasn't changed at all.
But thank you, Stud, for the comment. Unfortunately, that is not a question, so there's still one question left.
No. Actually, I heard a question in there, and I want to know, Stud, can you tell me what that behavior is? Because I, as somebody who are newer and who's only witnessed, Melissa at the convention, running around and doing so many different things, I haven't seen this behavior, and reports that I have been privy to haven't been of anything other than people that are annoyed or angry with decisions that were made, not with actual actions. And so as such, I'm going to put it out there, justin.nordell@ohayocon.org. I am more than receptive and hoping to be a safe space for anyone that wants to share anything that they know, because as of right now, I am just simply hoping to work with everybody to move forward, make sure that Ohayocon happens, not just in 2024, but 25 and beyond. I really want us all to be there. And Stud, I hope I get to meet you in person. And if you do, please, 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 please say hi.
I want it on record that I say I tried, but yeah. So, okay, Justin, to wrap things up, I feel like this is a good start on my end of trying to get a consensus, trying to get the right information out to the public. However, I don't think I'm fully satisfied with just this interview. If I were to suggest, and this is a very bold suggestion, a meeting between yourself and some Coven representatives, with me as a mediator, is that something that Ceci is down to do?
We're already wanting to get a meeting with not just Coven, but senior leadership and a number of other persons. Unfortunately, I'm on my way to Canada to go speak at a conference over the course of this week. So it's something that we'll be hoping to set up for the following week. But that being said, it's already on the agenda, my good sir.
Cool. Well, you have my email. Whatever time works best for you, I'm fairly open on most evenings. So, and that goes out to any Coven members and any senior leadership staff as well. I am 100% want to do a meeting between the two, and I really do want to be a mediator between the two, because I have a hell of a lot more questions now.
Appreciate you, Zach, and I appreciate you putting this together for the community. And Stud, I appreciate you copping on and speaking out. I really genuinely do.
No problem.
Well, thank you everybody so much for your time. I just ask that let's just all respect one another. We don't have to love one another. We don't have to like one another, but I'm asking that of everybody moving forward, that we treat each other with the respect that we deserve as members of this community. So that being said, just sending a whole lot of love out there. And I know that a lot of us are hurting. A lot of us are angry. A lot of us are really scared for whether or not things are going to happen in the way that we want to see them happen. There is change that is coming. There is lights in tunnels. I hope it happens at the rates that we want it to. But again, everybody wants something different. So we need to find what the best way to move forward is. And we're going to do that. And again, my goal is to do that together. So Zach, thank you so much for having this conversation. And since you're still here, Stud, you rock. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Hope you have a fantastic evening. Now go on and watch that fantastic Netflix. What are you watching exactly?
Oh, I have to go pack a suitcase for a flight, y'all, but take care.
Have a good evening.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Stud, thank you for your questions. Okay. Well! Oh, all that's recorded. All that will be re-uploaded on my main channel once I get it all cleaned up and all that jazz. No, I'm not even gonna clean it up. I'm just gonna edit. I'm not even gonna edit. I'm just gonna post the whole thing. Hopefully tonight. Hopefully sometime within the next 24 hours. Once again, I apologize for the start of the stream's complete technical mishap. Slobs did not want to work with me. Slobs is, in fact, working for Ceci, it seems. Confirmed. And yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for your help with some of these questions. Thank you guys for being very open to this interview. And as previously mentioned earlier, I don't think this is going to be the last interview because I still have questions. In fact, I have more questions and this whole situation, shit's fucked. So yeah, that's why you go with OBS Studio. Yes, thank you, Joker. Shit's fucked. Anyway, go check out the Tour Gaming Expo. It's happening the weekend after Youmacon. Yes, I'm showing an art convention. It's my show. I can do what I want. Go check it out. It's $30 for the weekend. You can't beat that. Anyway, keep being awesome. Have a fantastic evening, and I will see you next time. Farewell.